Hello, everyone. I am so glad to be back here with you again today. And today I have with me Michael Lewis. And Michael, I am just grateful to have you on today because you have, you touch an area of money that has the double taboo. So I'm glad to have you here with me.
Thank you for having me, Melissa. I'm glad to share with you my experiences. As you know, I am a financial advisor with a specialty of working with families who are suffering with addiction. As you correctly pointed out, it is a double-edged sword. People are generally very personal about letting people know about their financial situation.
Yes.
When you couple that with dealing with an addiction and all the stigma that goes along with sharing that story, families can find themselves in a situation where even though there's help available to them, they feel so uncomfortable about talking about it because you combine those two together and you're generally talking to someone who probably can't relate to what they're going through on the addiction side, that they end up getting no help at all. And when it comes to recovery, the financial implications are significant. It's not a one and done, as many people think it is. You sit there and you write a check to whoever says, I'm going to fix your child, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, it's one in a series of therapies that families go through. I mean, if you think about all the expenses, you have, you identify a problem. Now you have to get sometimes an interventionalist involved in order to make the loved one recognize they have a problem. Then you have to get a detox and get basically just let the drugs run through the system. Then you have to go through intensive therapy in order for them to understand exactly what they went through. Typically, addiction has a dual modality to it, so you're not only dealing with the addiction aspects, but you're dealing with mental health issues potentially. Then you have, at that point, it's very unlikely that that loved one is going to be able to come straight back to the living environment that he was once in. So you may find yourselves in a situation where you now have to have, residential living and treatment. All the while, I can speak to my particular situation. My wife and I, we went through this, and you have your own issues now that you have to deal with. So
right, it's not just one or the other. It's like
it's a fit. So the first misnomer is that addiction is just a problem for the person who's going through recovery. In fact, it's a family disease. The family gets sick together. The family has to heal together. And it takes a long time to heal. And not only does it take a long time, it takes a lot of money. Insurance doesn't cover everything. Even with the Affordable Care Act, you get coverage maybe for a 30-day program, and that's about it. I can tell you very few people ever go through just a 30-day program and are done. Usually you're going through, in our particular instance, our son was dealing with recovery for 13 years before he got clean and sober. He's now been clean and sober for 4 years.
Congratulations.
Do the math. I mean, 13 years of going from one place to another quickly adds up. And I will tell you, for us, it was all private pay. So, now you're facing this. Yeah, please.
That's the space too, where it's like, now I have to not only earn money for me, or for for you and your wife, but I also have to earn money to cover this. And then what does that mean for my retirement? And coupling all of those together, and then you put that blanket of shame and guilt and all of the stuff that goes on top of that kind of situation. It's got both of them. Like, that's why I call you the expert in the the double taboo topic. We're talking about money and we're talking about addiction and recovery. And I know you work with people in a way that is across the board, and it comes from that place of understanding. And there's no reason for someone who should find themselves in that situation to hesitate from coming to you.
You're absolutely right, Melissa. I mean, if you think about the nature of the problem, I mean, it really is a long-term continuum of care. Right. Well, so we talk about, we already talked about the expenses associated with healing as a family. And you talk about the fact that, you know, you're earning income. Now you have to figure out how to basically fund an additional college education. I mean, that's really what you're looking at is, you know, the expenses are certainly on par of sending a child through med school. And you know, you have options, but you're in a situation where you are so emotionally distraught. And you know this from your practice. You make your worst financial decisions when you're emotionally, you know, stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are trying to figure out: do I take a loan on my 401k? Do I stop paying my life insurance? Do I take out a zero interest loan? You know, you have all these alternatives that you're trying to assess, and you have no way of, you know, going through the process in any kind of timely fashion to meet the deadlines that you need to do in order to, you know, get your child into healthcare. But think about even after he's in recovery, right? Now you're sitting there and maybe you're fortunate and you've had the foresight to prepare a will. Well, is a will still the right answer? You know, a child in recovery, and I use the word child, obviously it can be an adult as well. But once you're in recovery, you really are in recovery for life. And I was told that the two biggest triggers for relapse are finance and romance. And while I can't help with the romance side, the finance side, I mean, think about it. I knew somebody who was left a fair bit of money, and he used it all to feed his habit, whereas another family, if they took the time to think about it, would have set up a trust. You know, the nice thing about a trust is not only do you put the monies aside and make sure that they're being used, you know, appropriately, but you also can convey intent. And this has the benefit of basically being able to take care of your loved one after you're gone, but also making sure that it doesn't act as a trigger and send them down the road to relapse. So you think about all the financial decisions that you have to make, not only today, but going into the future, changing all the documents that you have. You know, someone in recovery, all of a sudden maybe, again, this is just hypothetical, but marry someone that maybe you aren't exactly enamored with. Do you really want all the assets in their joint name? Maybe you want to start retitling certain things to protect, you know, your family. I remember with, you know, in our particular example, we were giving our son monies left, right, and center, and ultimately my daughter came up to me and said, you know, he's an addict, right? I go, yes, I do. And she basically said, well, do I have to become an addict in order to get the attention? And what that told me was that it's very easy to lose sight of the fact that you are responsible for an entire family, and that if you lose perspective, you can very easily, you know, bankrupt your entire family while trying to save somebody who is in a desperate way and needs the help. But you're not helping anybody if you're ruining the whole fabric of the family.
Yeah. So now, I mean, people have this idea of what it is and the vast expansiveness of it. Tell everybody where they can find you. You know, like, how do they get in touch with you if they need to talk with you through this and start, you know, working out some of these financial issues?
So I formed my own private practice down here. I'm located in Cary. You can visit me at my website, which is www.tutorfinancial.com. Tutor, like in an educator. I think education is a powerful tool, and I know, Melissa, you feel the same way.
I do.
You can reach me on cell phone, which is 919-629-0178. You can also email me at michael@tutorfinancial.com.
Perfect. And I will put all that down below. And I so thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Melissa. Let's, you know, I want everybody to take one thing away. You're not alone. If you need help, don't hesitate to ask for it.
Yes.